Try to relax as much as you can. And keep your awareness on the breath. Watching mindfully. And we can think, the best way to make our life meaningful is to work with our own mind, emotions, and by working with our mind to reduce and overcome those harmful, negative thoughts, feelings, emotions as much as possible. To generate and improve and increase those helpful, positive thoughts, feelings, emotions as much as possible. Because those negative emotions are the ones which bring more suffering, pain to ourselves. And those are the ones which make us to hurt and harm others as well. On the other hand, the positive state of mind, emotions such as loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom bring us more peace, joy, happiness in our life. As well as it drive us to be more help and benefit to other sentient beings. And to be able to do that, it's not just enough just wishing to go away those negative emotions and to have those positive emotions. We need to train our mind through practices, meditations, And for that, we need to be reminded of the practice, as well as we need to continue to study, reflect, contemplate. For that very reason and purpose, that's why we have gathered here. And may our act of coming together, listen to the Dharma, engage in discussions, and reflect and contemplate on that. May all of that become cause and conditions to achieve Buddhahood as soon as possible. And to be able to liberate all sentient beings from all their suffering, cause of suffering, and to be able to guide them to fully enlightenment. Okay. We'll go to the Heart Sutta. I prostrate to the Aryatibal James, thus did I hear one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on the mass of Vultures Mountain in Rasgiha, together with a great community of monks and great community of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was observed in the concentrations on the category of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregate also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara: how should any son of the lineage train who wish to practice the activities of profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra: Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wish to practice the activities of profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregate also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness form, emptiness not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factor, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, no division, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no conscious, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no eye element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration, without fear. Having completely passed beyond their era, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to the unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that truly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth since it is not false. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is declared. Tata Om Gade Gade Paragat Parasam Gade Bodhe Soha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from the concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokeshwara, saying, well said, son of the lineage is like that. It is like that one should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated, even the Tathagata rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokeshwara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the worlds of the gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Sa shibe gi dun shin me do ta re ra le je yin de ge pa de sang ge shin do mi de o wa yi do na ta shi che bai to edam guru rana mandala I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient. Sangye Jodan Soke Jonam, Chanju Badu Danega, Sage Choshe Kibe Sonam, Dola Benje Sangye Tuba. Sangye Jodan Soke Jonam, Chanju Badu, Sage Choshe Kibe Sonam, Dola Benje Sangye Tuba. Kanje Duje Nizone, no Dom Jagome, Vechuni Pinja, Podom Dela Cha. So, having gone through the foundation, the practice of small scope and middle scope, on the basis of that foundation, then one cultivate the bodhicitta mind, and having cultivated bodhicitta mind, then one take the bodhisattva vows, and on the basis of having taken the bodhisattva vows, then one engage into the practice of the bodhisattva practice, such as, in order to ripening one's own mental continuum, engage in the practice of self-perfection, and in order to ripening the mind stream of others, and engage in the four means of gathering disciples or sentient beings and helping and benefiting them. And so that, and within the practice of self-perfections, we have last week we finished the third perfections, the perfection of patience, and so today we come to the fourth, the perfection of perseverance or joyous effort. So that is yeah. So those who have the text, you can see is the page number 172.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where it says how to train in joyous effort. So again, like in all the other perfection, it always starts with the definitions or the nature of the practice, and then subdivisions of the practice, and then how to practice or the generate in one's own mental continuum. So here in first, the entity or the nature of the joyous effort is here. Lama Tsongkhapa says, as it is said in Asanga's Bodhisattva's label, it is joyous effort, it is a state of mind, that take great joy or delight with regard to the gathering or cultivating the virtues, as well as working for the benefit of all sentient beings, welfare of all sentient beings, and as well as the actions of Tirito, the body, speech, mind, that is motivated by that joyous, that joyfulness, that delightfulness, So I think again, one of the things that when we talk about joyous effort or perseverance, enthusiasm, different translation, whatever we explain, we talk, in not all the enthusiasm, not all the perseverance, not all the joyous effort are, the perfection of joyous effort, The perfection of joyous effort, the Bodhisattva's practice, the joyous effort or enthusiasm or perseverance has to be, the object has to be the virtues, okay? Because we can have enthusiasm in non-virtuous objects. We can have a joyous effort in a non-virtuous actions or even neutral objects, So therefore, when we talk about the enthusiasm or joyous effort or perseverance in relation to the perfection of joyous effort, the object has to be virtuous. The object of that joyous effort or enthusiasm has to be virtuous. Okay, and so that is one thing. Also, and as Shantideva said in his Guides to Bodhisattva Life, the joyous effort is being delighted or joyful in the virtues, and so that is the main, and the main is that state of mind. Okay, so that is so we can have what you call maybe forcefulity, something which is joyous effort, but which not the perfection of joyous effort, something which is three possibility, and anything that is perfection joyous effort will be joyous effort, and then which neither of them, so anyway, so that is the definition of what it means by joyous effort. Okay, especially this the fourth perfections. And then in terms of the subdivision, there are three types of joyous effort. Okay, So the first one is more like joyous effort, So that comes at the very beginning of your practice, before you really you prepare yourself with that delightfulness, joyfulness in your practice before you actually engage into the practice. So that is where it says, when the Bodhisattva undertakes joyous effort, into the any of the virtues, virtues, object, actions, periodically applying themselves to something, before you actually engage in the practice itself, the actual practice itself. You come with that kind of attitude, like the armor to protect yourself, which is like preliminary attitudes of the mental delightfulness. So the example of that is here is giving, it is similar to that you see in Guru Yoga, in Guru Yoga, there is, even if I have to remain in the abyss of the hell, which is the worst of the hell, for eons and eons, even for one just single sentient beings, I never be discouraged by the compassion and perfect the practice of generosity, So similar to that, so from the very beginning, we train our mind. We train our mind and our mental attitude, saying, even in order to help one sentient beings, and for that, even if I have to remain not just for one lifetime, but eons of lifetime, in order to benefit that sentient beings, liberate that sentient being. And even if I have to remain in the worst, even the worst and most suffering state or realms, such as hell realms, I never give up, So, so cultivating that kind of strong determinations, strong attitude, so that is that, and it is important. I think this seems to be very important in our everyday life, when we are engaging in anything, and especially when you are practicing Dharma, from the very beginning, if we think, it would be easy, it won't take, in our practice, it would be easy, it won't take too much time in that, so mentally we are not prepared, and when it is little bit more challenging than we expected, then we can easily be discouraged and give up. If it takes more than what we mentally have prepared, even it means it just takes you more, maybe 1 week more or 1 month more, and you still feel, you could also feel discouraged because it's taking long time. Even though it's not so long, but because your mind is not prepared, because we expect it to be so quick. On the other hand, we think, it might take whole life. It might take 10 years. If you are prepared mentally to that, and if you take 1 year, you think, wow, so quick. You will be surprised, pleasantly surprised. And 1 year doesn't seem so long, it seems so short. And because of your different mental attitude, and even we encounter some problems, some challenge, some difficult, because mentally you are prepared for much more worse, and therefore you think, oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. You feel like it's so light. You don't feel it's so, that challenge, that hardship, whatever difficult that we face, we don't feel it is so big. We feel it's so, because mentally you are prepared for much more bigger. And so that is very important, mentally prepare for the worst all the time. Mentally prepare for the worst, and so here is such a, Bodhisattva's attitude are like such, for us, if we think of, oh, if I have to help someone for 1 month, we think, oh, no, that maybe I might be able to help for 1 day, maybe 1 week, but not more than that, If we have to think one whole our life, it's impossible. But here, the Bodhisattvas, they train their mind, mental attitudes, even if they, with that kind of mental attitude, even if I have to remain in the worst realms where the most suffering, even for 3 eons, immeasurable 3 eons, may I not give up, and I will continue to do that. So that kind of attitude. So that is like armor, because it protects us from being discouraged. It protects us from being discouraged and from giving up easily when we are faced with a lot of hardship, difficulties, challenges in practicing our Dharma, engaging in virtues, helping others, so it protects us. So that is the first one, and also, of course, also with respect to joy is for attaining complete enlightenment, because in order to achieve enlightenment, fully enlightenment, it requires a lot of practice. And some of them practice are not so easy, and it could require a lot of time. And so therefore, again, if we are not prepared from the very beginning, and when it's taking time in terms of progress in our practice, even when we are making a progress, because it is taking more time than we expected, so we can easily be discouraged and give up, And sometimes mentally we are not prepared for some of the hardship, challenges that it might arises, and again we can be easily, and so therefore preparing for that, for the worst, in terms of benefiting, helping others, in terms of attaining enlightenment, So here in that we can train here, as it says, if I should not, such as when you train in Bodhisattvas, if I should not give up, engage in joyous effort for that length of time, such as 3 immeasurable 3 eons, what need is there to mention that I shall not give up, in our practice, it doesn't require that much at the moment. And if the time is less than that, and if the suffering is less, then why should I be so discouraged? And why should I be, easily give up? So we have to think that again and again, reminding ourselves with that thinking, compared to that much of that, the suffering that we can experience in such as the lower realms, the suffering we experience here now, and the suffering whatever hardship we go through in engaging our practice is nothing compared to that. So therefore, I should not be so discouraged. I shouldn't so easily give up. And also compared to the time, that time, even it takes years to have some positive changes and transformation in our practice, to have some positive result, the time, that is nothing compared to that. It is like 1 second, 1 second. So that means, so then again, so therefore, in relation to it, it's nothing. And so therefore, why should I be so easily discouraged and give up? I shouldn't be discouraged and I shouldn't easily give up. So that is something we talk with ourselves, with our mind. And through that, we give more courage, build up more stronger courage. And then the second, Joyous effort gathering of the virtues phenomena, virtues, So that is engaging the Joyous effort, or enthusiasm in engaging in practice of those virtues which we have not already cultivated, and those which have already cultivated, trying to maintain them and increase and improve them, and especially, engage in the practice such as 6 perfections, the practice of 6 perfections, if we have already cultivated some of those practices, we try to maintain that, we try to increase and improve those practices. If we have not engaged in the practice of those 6 perfections, any of the 6 perfections, we try to engage into them. Not only engage, trying to engage with more kind of enthusiasm, more kind of delight, more joyfully, So that is the second. And the third one, is Joyous efforts, working for the welfare of, engaging for the welfare of sentient beings, such as the 11 different way of benefiting sentient beings, which I think I mentioned last time when we were in the moral discipline, So, such as those. Basically, when we are trying to help and benefit others, when we are trying to be service to others, when we are trying to do welfare of others, having enthusiasm and joyfulness and delightfulness, that instead of feeling kind of, like a burden, if you feel like burden while you are trying to help and benefit others, and your minds feel like burden, then you don't enjoy it, you don't enjoy it, and that doesn't give you encouragement to help and benefit more, On other hand, if there is joy in that, whatever you are trying to do, if there is a delight and joy in that, that will make you very happy. It will give you a lot of joy, and that will encourage you to be able to do more, in Tibetan, in some of they use a term, make it become like an ornament instead of a burden, if it's something like ornament, of course we would be very delighted to put on them, put those ornament, but it's burden, then of course we don't have the same kind of delight, and so there similarly, and so then next is the third, how to practice, how to generate the practice of joyous effort within our mental continuum, and again, like all the practice, is start with thinking on the advantage of that practice and disadvantage of not engaged in the practice, and again, the more you feel the advantage, the benefit of that, the more you are inspired to do that, and so therefore that is where it starts all. And so that in the material ornament of Mahayana Sutta, it is mentioned, and joyous effort is based among virtues accumulations, among all the virtues practice, all the virtues practice, joyous effort is one of the best among all of that, joyous effort is the one which make us to complete and perfect all the different practices, or other 6 perfections, other 5 perfections. Whether we will be able to complete and whether we will be able to perfect each of those other perfections or not, it very much depends on the joyous effort. If we have the perseverance, the enthusiasm, joyous effort, then we will be able to perfect and complete all those different practices. If we don't have, then even we have started, we will not be able to carry on further and to be able to complete and perfect, because we might easily give up in between, because we lose the interest, and we lose the interest because there's no delight and joy in that, and so therefore, so by relying on this, and thus relying on this, the joyous effort, one attain that which follows, so then, one can attain all the positive qualities, all the virtuous qualities. Through the joyous effort, immediately, best source of happiness. And so through the joyous effort, we can achieve, the best source of happiness, our own Dharma practice, our own virtues, including mundane and transcendent cities, ordinary accomplishment, and of course there are many ordinary or mundane accomplishment of cities, and then uncommon or extraordinary. Mundane is the enlightenment, So through joyous effort, one gain worldly wealth and desire. Yeah, I mean, to make any success in our life, even in our worldly life, perseverance, enthusiasm is required. Without perseverance and enthusiasm, without hard work, it is hard to achieve anything. Unless, we have so strong previous karma that sometimes things come just without, but hard work is already done in the past, in those cases. But without the perseverance and hard work, it's hard to achieve anything, even in terms of worldly life, worldly activities, Through the joyous effort, one becomes totally pure, through the practice of joyous effort. Then we can overcome such as 10 non-virtuous actions, and thereby our practice of moral discipline become totally pure, Through the joyous effort, one is liberated. Through the joyous effort, then, we are able to cultivate such as the practice of three higher training, moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom. And through the three practices, we can overcome all the delusion and contaminated karma. And having overcome all the contaminated and the delusion, then we can achieve liberations, and passing beyond the advanced story collections, so yeah, passing beyond advanced story collections, it means through overcoming the fundamental ignorance, and through the joyous effort, one wakes in the supreme enlightenment, and through the joyous effort, we can overcome the subtle obscuration, not only the obscuration of defilement, but obscurations of the knowledge and the selfish attitude. And by having overcome that, then we can achieve fully enlightened, fully awakened state. And so through the joyous effort, we can achieve, the happiness of future life, happiness of liberation, and happiness of fully enlightenment, and all through the joyous effort. So we need to kind of reflect on all these benefit. And then again, in continuum perfection, it says, for him who has great joyous effort and does not dismay, or which the great joyous effort does not decline, there's nothing that cannot be attained, that can't be accomplished, And it's through the joyous effort that even in terms of Buddha's own life stories, even from ordinary aspect, we can see, those 6 years that when he was meditating, is through the share of that kind of perseverance and joyous effort and perseverance in his practice that lead him to achieve the enlightenment. The commitment, he said, until I achieve enlightenment, this cushion, I will not move from here. That kind of strong armor, like the first, like armor, like joyous effort, he made that strong commitment, I will not move from this cushion, not from this place, not from this cushion until I achieve enlightenment. And for those 6 years, so much perseverance, hardship, hard work, enthusiasm, and that took him to that to achieve enlightenment, And again, even in ordinary, you often hear, all the stories of all the people who, I don't remember who invaded the light, but I was reading, long time ago, and that he failed 1,000 times and he never give up. He tried and finally, after thousands times, he was able to achieve, And even today, they were trying to have the what do you call, the space shuttle with the human beings even though due to the way that they couldn't launch today, but they were saying, how 1,000 times they have done that test without human beings, but 1,000 times, And it's true, we make, it's constant, not giving up, constantly working, perseverance, not giving up. And that is where it takes to the result that we want. Without that kind of perseverance, if we give up, we can't reach anywhere. We can't achieve anything. Not only the spiritual achievement, but even in ordinary, even in ordinary worldly things, it is hard to achieve. Yes, so thank you. Someone clear saying Thomas Edison light bulb. Okay, yeah. So then, yeah, and also all non-human like God and Nagas and like that, will benefit the persons, will help and benefit that who has joys, effort, and virtues. And he achieved all the manners of concentration and different aspect of different type of the concentrations. He passes day and night having result, and when you have that kind of perseverance, then positive results keep on coming, like waves of the oceans, day and night, it keep on coming, through the massive excellent quality, one declines, so then one will achieve internal excellent qualities, of our realizations, different realizations, and increasing, declining, through the aims more noble than concerns of human beings, he will flourish like a upala flowers. And the upala flower is supposed to be blue flowers. I don't know exactly how it really looks like. This in some of the commentary they said it is not in Tibet. They don't grow in Tibet, but it's supposedly is a big flowers and blue colors, and it has beautiful flowers and then fruit, and it's big ones. So basically, it is saying the virtues increase like a waxing moon. Day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, life by life, increasing those realizations, those virtue practices. And then also we have to reflect on disadvantage or shortcoming of not undertaking the joyous effort. So then, of course, there are so many of those. But of course, here Lama Tsongkhapa taking just one quotation from the sutta request by Sakara Mamati. For lazy, enlightenment is very far and far in all ways. And of course, if we are lazy, we can't reach anywhere. So enlightenment will be very far away, if we don't have the perseverance and joyous effort, but if we become lazy, and even in this life, with lazy, we cannot achieve anything, anything, in the lazy, generosity and so forth. So that's a practice such as perfection, generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyous effort, concentration, so forth, to the wisdom do not exist. You cannot achieve any of those practice, any of those realizations. For lazy, the welfare of others does not exist, and neither will be able to help and benefit other sentient beings. So with the laziness, neither we can take care of ourselves, neither we will be able to take care of others. And again, we can see, even in our life, because of laziness, sometimes we don't take care of our health. Because of laziness, we don't take care because we don't do the, some whatever exercise, whatever we need. Because of laziness, sometimes, we eat junk foods instead of cooking because we are lazy to cook, and so we are unable to take our health. Because of laziness, we are unable to train our mind and practice. So therefore, we cannot take care of our emotion, our mind. So we are unable to care about our physical hygiene as well mental hygiene, And also because of laziness, we are unable to definitely take care of others, Sometimes we feel like, sometimes we have the intention, they wanted to help and benefit others. Sometimes we have intention, motivation to do something for others, but sometimes we become very lazy, and due to laziness, we are unable to inspire and make ourselves to. there is a caution between distinguish with laziness and depressions. You know, I think depressions is more like a state of mind because of you know, becoming a discouraged, you know, due to whatever, you know, sometimes things are not going right in your life, you know, things are not going where do you want, you know, and so due to that, and maybe we felt like we failed, we are not good enough for this and that, whatever, you know, and those if we don't work with that mind, then that started to kind of increase, that state of mind increase, and you know, and then you don't kind of have a you know, you lose kind of it seems like you lose convictions in yourself and your ability, and that it doesn't inspire you to and it doesn't then, even on some physical level, you know, then it kind of make you very down. Laziness doesn't necessarily make you very down, and not necessarily because your mind is feeling so down, not necessarily because your mind is discouraged, you know, but just you know, you are not so kind of inspired, or you don't push yourself a little bit, you know. Sometimes you feel lazy, you know, even just getting up, and you just push yourself a little bit, and you get up, and then it's just fine. And then you feel, oh, I should have get up a little bit earlier, you know. So there is that, not because your mind is feeling very down, you know. Because, you know, yeah, I think maybe that can be a way of, you know, sometimes, and a lot of things, you know, maybe sometimes you feel like you want to do some exercise, you want to go walk, but you feel lazy, you know. It's not like you are being discouraged or your mind is down, you know, but you just have to kind of, you know, inspire, or just sometimes you just get up and start walking, and you start enjoying, and you start thinking, why didn't I do that yesterday, or why didn't I do that before, or you know, I should have done before, all of that. So there is a very difference. It's a different mental state, you know. Depressing, much more worse, you know. Your mind is feeling down, and your mind is discouraged and very, very down. I think that is, but I'm not so sure, you know. Yeah, I think laziness is more like distraction habit. I think could be, yeah. Basically, you know, for whatever reason, we are not being inspired to do something, whatever we are trying to do, you know. Sometimes maybe not being even inspired, you know, in your mind, you have been inspired, but physically, somehow, you know, you just cannot just make it happen, or you just can't, you know. Sometimes we keep on postponing. So anyway, and mindfulness, excellent dharmas, the one foundation of mental afflictions is laziness, you know. Absolutely, it is the laziness, you know. No matter in whom, he who has laziness by itself does not have any dharma at all. You know. Definitely, when we are lazy, you know, then definitely it's hard to make any progress, you know. We will not practice, and without having practice, we will not make any progress in our practice of the Dharma, you know, in our spiritual path, you know. So here Lama Tsongkhapa says, therefore we should reflect, contemplate, and meditate on the advantage and benefit of the practice of joyous effort, and as well as disadvantage or shortcoming of not engaging into the enthusiasm or joyous effort. And then the third one, how to actually practice and generate the joyous effort, And so to that, there are two obstacles or adverse circumstances or interference, obstacles, and so, one is that, even though we believe and we have confidence, even though we have confidence, we can practice and we can achieve and we can actualize those different stages of practice in the Dharma, in the virtuous Dharma. But we do not engage in that because we keep on postponing, keep on postponing, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And we keep on postponing. That is one of the things, And then second thing is, you don't have confidence, being discouraged and not having confidence, thinking, how could I ever accomplish anything like that, not having the confidence and being discouraged, not having trust in your ability, in yourself. No trust, no confidence, no courage, they think, how can I, it's not for me, thinking, this kind of practice is beyond me, it's not possible for me. So, in first cases, you have the confidence and trust and courage, but you keep on postponing. Second thing, not even having that. And then the first one has 2 points, So then why we postpone it? Because we think there is still time, One is because we still think there is a time to do the practice, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and so forth, That is one of the reasons why we keep on postponing. Second one is, because we are being distracted to worldly things because of attachment to objects, different things, worldly things, and then we get distracted towards them, and then we are unable to find time for the practice, Dharma practice, due to being distracted to the worldly things, and because of being attached to it, so those things. And so then how to overcome them, and what are the antidote, the practice, And so in dealing with the postponing, because we think there is a time on that, and then the meditation one is that, thinking that even though we have this present human rebirth, even though we have often this precious human rebirth, but that can disintegrate, that death could come any moment, So meditating on death impermanent is one of the main key, If through meditation on death impermanent, and if we have come to a certain conclusion, I could die tomorrow, then you will think, whatever time we have, we would like to utilize as much as possible to prepare and to practice the Dharma. If we feel, I could die in next week, whatever time is left there within that next week, we will we would utilize it as much as possible to engage on Dharma practice and to prepare for death. But when you think, oh, I have year and that, and then we keep on postponing. So the death meditation, death impermanent, is very powerful antidote to overcome that kind of laziness of not engaging immediately, instead postponing, and also, meditating that, after the death, we could take a rebirth in a lower rebirth, and if we happen to take a rebirth in lower rebirth, not only the suffering is much more, but there is no opportunity to practice the Dharma, And not only that, once we have taken a rebirth, then it is very difficult to find a high rebirth again, and the condition to practice the Dharma again, And so this has already been taught when we talked about in the first, the middle scope. So the practice of precious human rebirth and death impermanent, and the suffering of lower rebirth, so meditating on those, and especially on death impermanent, especially on death impermanent can be very powerful, very powerful. And then in terms of applying the antidote towards the attachment and distractions, towards the worldly activities and worldly concerns and worldly experience and worldly objects, and so that thinking, it is only the holy Dharma that is the cause for in boundless joy, happiness in this and future life, And if you really think about it, it is true, All these worldly objects, definitely it cannot give us any joy and happiness future life. Those worldly things. We cannot take anything. We just leave everything here. So therefore, definitely it cannot help for high rebirth in future. It doesn't help for our liberation. It doesn't help for our enlightenment. Even in this life, it doesn't guarantee you will be more happy and more joyful. Sometimes it gives us more pain and more sufferings, And it's true, like, a lot of things that we all now we have, due to those things, we have worry, we have fear. When the things broke down, we get frustrated. And we have to maintain, and due to that, we have a lot of, again, so while we have that, it didn't really give us more joy, more happiness. Sometimes it makes our life more complicating, more difficult. The more we have seems make us more complicating, more worry, more fear, and so on. And so therefore, it doesn't really give any, but it is the Dharma practice, That means working with our mind, When we work with our mind, and through the practice of our Dharma, when we are able to find some stability, some calmness through the practice, through the, contentment, through the practice of contentment, through the practice of loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom, and through the practice of patience and so forth, you find joy in this life. Absolutely, your life will be much more joyful. It's our experience, even in small experience we have. And definitely that will be the cause for better rebirth happiness in the future. That will be the cause for the happiness of liberation, enlightenment. So that is what really it brings us, you know. So we have to think that, whereas like meaningless, idle chatters, you know, and distraction of excitement and so forth, degenerate the great aim in this life, you know. It just kind of make our life, you know, waste our precious life and precious opportunity, you know, to make it meaningful, you know. Then we die without our life becoming much meaningful, you know, without much purpose. And seeing that is the source of that generate manifold happiness and suffering in future life, it should be stopped, you know. So also, you know, basically meditating on essence-less of the object of those attachments, you know, in terms of the object of attachment, you know, seeing those objects which we are attached to, they don't have meaning, real essence, real meaning. They don't really give us true happiness, you know. And so through that, then we become less attached. Less attachment, less distractions. Also, meditating on the impermanent nature of those objects of attachments, you know, how everything is disintegrating, how everything is changing, you know, none of those objects will remain all the time. They will decay, they will disintegrate, you know. So meditating on impermanent can help. Meditating on, you know, emptiness of those objects of the attachments help, you know, how even though whatever we're attached to, you know, even though they appear, you know, nice and good and beautiful, attractive, whatever qualities that we're attached to, you know, as from its own side, but there is none of that if we really analyze it, you know. So meditating on emptiness of that also can help us to overcome the attachment. So through that, by applying those different practices, those different meditations, then we try to overcome the attachment. And having overcome the attachments, then we overcome the distractions that comes due to the attachments. And thereby, when we have less distractions, then we are able to find more time towards our Dhamma practice. And so then in terms of discouragement, you know, so then here there is coming, so that is dealing with the first obstacles, interference. And second is the being discouraged and not having confidence, you know. So that there are three types of discouragement. One of the discouragement is, you know, the object of our attainment, you know, for enlightenment, because when we train to become a fully enlightenment, you know, the excellent quality of Buddha are limitless, so I cannot attain them. So, you know, achieving enlightenment means overcoming all the faults, all the obscurations, all the shortcomings, and achieving all the positive qualities, all the excellent qualities of the Buddhas. So when we think about that, sometimes we might be become discouraged, thinking, you know, it's not possible for me, you know, because the Buddha's enlightenment qualities, excellent qualities, are limitless to be that we need to achieve, and to overcome all these faults and shortcoming is limitless. And then we think, you know, even overcoming one shortcoming, faults, seems very challenging for us. Even just overcoming one of them, even achieving one positive qualities, one small realization seems to be challenging. And sometimes we feel, you know, oh, this is not so. Through that, we might get the disencouraged, you know. So that is one of the discouragement that comes. The other second discouragement, thinking that the method giving us my arms, legs, and leg is immensely difficult. I cannot. So then, not only that, then in order to become a fully enlightenment, achieve fully enlightenment, the method is, the practice required a lot of, some of practice seems difficult, the both of practice, such as giving your life, your own organs, your hands, and all of that seems, for us, even giving things, and some of things which are not even needed for us, even not necessary, sometimes we struggle to give, we find difficult, it is no use for us, but somehow we cannot even let go of that, we cannot even give that. Of course, something we feel useful, that of course it's more difficult to give, but sometimes some of the things we feel is not useful, but still sometimes we still have some clinking and we are unable to give. And so when we talk about giving everything, giving all your, all your wealth, including your own body and your life, it just seems beyond our mind at the moment. And then we feel, oh, those bodhisattva practice is not for me. And then we can become very discouraged, So that is one of the discouraged. The third discouraged is thinking now, since in order to achieve enlightenment and to help benefit, we have to we have to go through 3 eons, 3 countless eons. And so therefore we have to come to the world again and again. So, coming to this samsara again and again, and when each time we are in samsara, then we experience so much pain and suffering, and so therefore we feel like, how can it's not for me, it's not for me. I cannot come in samsara again and again and again in order to, for 3 eons, and again, because just one life is enough. We feel like just one life is enough. It's one life, and the suffering in one life is more than enough to deal with that. And we can't think of dealing that again and again, And through that, again, we can become discouraged, So those are some of the discouragement that we can have. Then to overcome those discouragement, then there are certain way of reflecting, contemplating, meditating. So in dealing with the first, the antidote, the first thought is to think, even the Buddhas did not already attain high path right from the start, So again, Buddha was not enlightened from the very beginning, thinking. Instead, all the Buddhas were just like ourselves at the very beginning, full of delusions, full of obscurations, full of fault, but they started on the path, and they started practicing small by small, little by little, small by small, little by little, and eventually, slowly, little by little, they were able to make more and more progress. And slowly, they were able to do more and bigger, more and more higher practice. And more practice. And through that, then they are able to achieve enlightenment. So therefore saying, I have the same potential, I have the same Buddha nature. We have the same potential, same Buddha nature. Therefore, if I started watering it, small by small, even is small, even is very little. If I continue to full water, even little by every day, then the flower of the Buddha nature would blossom and it would grow, and thereby we will be able to achieve enlightenment. So through that, then we try to convince ourselves, we try to give encourage to ourselves through thinking like that way. Also, Buddha has also said, in some sutra, even the insects such as, mosquitoes, they can also achieve enlightenment, because they also have the Buddha nature, So if Buddha has said that, and if we believe the Buddhas, if even the insects such as, if they can achieve, as human beings, how can not be possible to achieve that? As a human beings, we have certain brain, certain mind, more cognitive, and we have more better way to reason things, and meditation is always kind of using reasonings, a lot of time reasoning, analyzing reasoning, and so therefore, and not only we have born as a human beings, we have met the Dharma, not only we have met the Dharma, we have easy access to the Dharma, and not only easy access Dharma, we have some interest, inclinations toward the Dharma. Not only we have some interest and inclination to the Dharma, we are putting some effort. And so therefore, absolutely that I can achieve enlightenment. So through that kind of way of reflecting, contemplating, then giving us more, encouragement to ourselves, believing that we can achieve enlightenment and not being so discouraged, And so that in terms of the antidotes to the discouraged in respect to the method, the second, because, when we think, to give our wealth, body, and virtues, all of them, practicing generosity and giving is difficult. As long as we have that, when we don't feel you are not ready mentally, then you shouldn't be doing that. That is what it is saying, Even though there is a mention of such practice, in the Bodhisattva's practices, but those are practiced through training our mind, and you reach certain point, due to your strong bodhicitta mind, due to your strong wisdom, realizing emptiness, when you reach a point when you don't have any hesitations, just like, you have no hesitation to throw the garbage outside. Same way, we can almost feel that way without any hesitation. Then in that time, then we are, then you should practice. But when you are not ready, then you shouldn't be doing that, and you don't have to do that. So therefore, you don't have to do immediately, and we only practice with the things that we can do now, small, but continue, so that, so yeah, when time comes, it's not difficult at all, and as it meant bodhicitta, when you feel, because your bodhicitta mind and because your wisdom is so strong, even when someone cuts your arms and that, you don't feel the pain, it just feels like being chopped like vegetables, And so in those cases, then you wouldn't have any difficulty in engaging that, If you feel you don't have the physical pain, mental pain, then of course, you wouldn't have any hesitations. If it need to be given, if it's needed to give, you wouldn't have hesitations and the fear of giving it. In those times, then So therefore, that understanding, you shouldn't be discouraged. Then the third ones, in relation to coming again and again in samsara, so again, if we start to practice the Dharma now, we will start to stop creating more negative karma. And, as you engage in Bodhisattva path, we create less negative karma. We abandon negative karma. We don't create negative karma, And if you don't create negative karma, you wouldn't experience the suffering, the result of negative karma, So there's no sufferings, physical sufferings. And because of your very strong mind or realization of emptiness and bodhicitta mind, because of your realizations of, the samsara being lack of inherent existence, because you understand emptiness of the samsara, emptiness of the experience itself, the emptiness of yourself and all phenomena, and when you see like it, when you are able to see all like illusions, and then there is so much both strong bodhicitta mind, then there is no suffering, pain in your mind, And when there is no suffering on physical level, on the mental level, then you have no fear of coming again and again into the samsara in order to help and benefit others, in order to create merit in three eons, So through that again, giving encouragement and overcoming that discouragement, So again, that is and that is why, a lot of the bodhisattvas, as His Holiness Dalai Lama's always he shared, when he read the first Dalai Lama's biography, where he said first Dalai Lama, even though he has the options to go to Pure Land if he want to, he didn't want to go to Pure Land. He wanted to come to this samsaric suffering world in order to help benefit, because they are not afraid of that. They are not fearful of the sufferings because of their bodhicitta mind and because of their wisdom. And so instead, they come with a delight and joyfulness, So to know that we can also reach that state, knowing we have the potential and we can reach that state, and so therefore we don't have to be so fearful of having to come again and again in the futures. So that is overcoming the obstacles, and now overcoming the obstacles, and now relying on the favorable conditions, and there are 4 types. The power of, belief or aspirations, aspirations is to meditate on cause, on effect, and general aspiration, to discard and adapt. So, by meditating on law of cause and effect, karma, then by understanding of the karma, then we get a strong kind of faith, convictions, and inspirations towards the law of cause and effect of karma. And through that, then we try to reduce and abandon those negative karma that need to be abandoned, and we try to engage in the virtuous practice that need to be adapted or to practice, And so having that, and to do that, then we need to, again, contemplate on the advantage and benefit of the practice, and so that the more you get aspirations, the more enthusiasm you will have in that practice. You know, if you don't have any kind of aspirations, then of course it's difficult to have joyous effort or enthusiasm in the practice. But if you have a strong aspirations towards that, then you will have more. It will be more easy to have the enthusiasm and joyous effort in your practice. You know, and the second is, you know, steadfast. You know, stability, steadfast. You know, or unwavering resolve. You know, so that means once we make the determination, commitment in our practice, you know, then no matter how challenging, how difficult, not giving up, you know, no matter how hardship, we continue to not losing, and we continue to continue, you know, like a running of the water, you know, all the river, you know. So at the very beginning, when you were engaged in a practice, we have to investigate, analyze whether I'm ready for that or not. You know, whether I'm ready for that or not, whether I'm willing to engage in a practice or not. And once having investigated, analysis, and once we have made a commitment, then it is important to engage in it and to culminate, to complete it. And so when we are able to complete something that we have accepted, it gives us more confidence later. And on the other hand, we accept many things and we don't complete any of them, then it makes us discouraged. Oh, I didn't finish that, I didn't finish that, I didn't finish that, I couldn't finish. And you have all of this that we have committed ourselves but not being able to finish any of those activities or project or here Dharma practice, then you know, it doesn't make you feel good. Always feeling like guilt, and then that doesn't inspire you so much. You know, on the other hand, whatever commitment we make it, we try to complete it, and then it gives you more confidence, and then that gives you more joy in your practice and enthusiasm. You know, and then the power of joy make you undertaking joyous effort uninterrupted and unstable, like a child engaged in a game. You know, so it is whatever practice we do, then we try to bring delight and joy in that practice. You know, instead of feeling again kind of burden or kind of compulsories. You know, instead, you know, just like in as some example they give, you know, in the summer, you know, when it is very hot, whether it is the animals or whether it is the human beings, you go in the river, cold water, you know, very delightfully, joyfully, you know, or the children's engage in their play joyfully, you know, delightfully in same way, instead of feeling like burden, you know, in same way. You know, whatever practice we do, we try to bring that delightfulness, that joyfulness. And if we bring that joyfulness and delightfulness in the practice, you wouldn't get so easily tired, you know. And then you wouldn't have so much laziness. Mm-hmm. And the power of suspicions is to rest, you know. So again, while we need to perseverance in our practice, you know, not being lazy. Sometimes we need to push ourselves a little bit, you know, because if we don't push, we become too lazy and we don't do anything. So sometimes we need to push ourselves a little bit, put effort, perseverance. but sometimes we might be pushing too much. And so recognizing when we need to rest and relax, taking the rest and relax. Sometimes our body needs to rest. Sometimes our mind needs to rest. And knowing exactly, knowing the situation of our body through our mindfulness, observations, and knowing our state of mind. And when we are being a little bit kind of being pushing too much, then we learn to kind of take it easy. Learn to take it easy, to rest, to relax. And when we have been able to recover, whether it's physically or emotionally, when you recover, then again we engage in the practice. And especially if we're becoming lazy again, then again we need to push ourselves a little bit. And so that's balancing. It's very important. That balancing part is so important, and that is the middle way. One of the things we tend to go always one extreme to another extreme. Sometimes we become too lazy, we don't do anything, and sometimes we push ourselves so much, and then again sometimes we break down, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, sometimes both, and totally break down. And neither of those is a healthy. And finding the middle way, being very mindful and observing our physical state and our mental state, and knowing whether we are being lazy or whether our body and mind need a rest. When it needs a rest, it is not lazy, but it really needs a rest, then we need to give rest and relax. But it is just the body and mind doesn't really require a lazy, rest or relax, but it's just being lazy, then we have to, push ourselves a little bit to come out of that. And so through that, applying those four favorable conditions, then, so in this way, we stop the reliance on stopping the adversary conditions and rely on favorable conditions, then you should undertake joyous effort until your body and mind become light like a piece of cotton carried by the wind. I don't know, your body can always, but basically what it is saying, your body and mind become so flexible and light, you have no hesitations, no hesitation in engaging in any meditation, any practice. You without any hesitation, delightfully, joyfully, without any struggle to engage in the practice, without any struggle to engage in the practice, but without any struggle, without any hesitations, resistance, without any resistance, but instead to be able to really engage, delight joyfully. Until we reach that, then we need to continue to practice in that joyous effort, in that. And so then in engaging in sixth perfection, combining the other five perfection in relation to the joyous effort, which we mentioned before, in this way, when you train in joyous effort, you should make it possess a sixth perfection. So you try to bring all other perfection within that practice. So then we integrate all the six perfection within the practice of joyous effort. So while you are abiding in joyous effort yourself, encouraging and helping and establishing others in engaging joyous effort, that is the practice of generosity joyous effort. And then same with the moral joyous effort and so forth, which I think we already mentioned, I think in the first when we did with the generosity, so it's same way. The remaining are same as before, So I think that way we will kind of stop here. And so with that, we finish the practice on joyous effort. And again, those who are more interested to more details, if you study the Guide to Both of Way of Life, chapter 7 is in joyous effort. So it's very detailed there. So if you want to learn and study more on that, more detail. Thank you very much, and then we'll do the dedications. Due to the merit of these virtuous actions, may I clearly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel Bodhisattva that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Then the long life prayers. The wish granting, wish fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparable kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Tubzo Chanshin Chamken Yawe Tenzin Yompewe Kunso Tokbo Ze Chosun Kowe Lemo Tutu Da So Duje Kundu Shapen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.